What's happening there, guys, and welcome back to our channel. It's not all that uncommon to hear news about frightening discoveries that get made by scientists every now and again. Most of them are just plain bogus. However, things seem legitimate this time. Scientists are frightened by recent discoveries in Greenland. Let's take a look and see what this is all about. Number 5. The recent discovery. Discovering remnants of long-gone plants from soil samples taken from the bottom of the Greenland ice sheet was what made Andrew Christ happy out of his mind. Apart from him, only one other research team had ever gotten their hands on the greenery underneath the kilometer-high mass of ice. Upon looking into how long it had been since the soil had been touched by sunlight, he became aware that it hadn't even been 1,000,000 years since then, which may sound like a lot, but is minuscule in geological terms. Recent research has shown that if plants once grew at multiple locations on the surface of Greenland, it means that the ice currently covering the island had melted completely in the past. This finding is significant because it indicates that the island's ice sheet is vulnerable to collapse once again as it had in the past. The study's findings will soon be published in the proceedings of the NAS, and they highlighted the fact that even small increases in temperature over an extended period can cause the largest reservoir of ice in the northern hemisphere to collapse. The study's author, Jason P. Briner, states that the Earth's climate system is sensitive to change, and we need to be careful about how we approach these things. It's not difficult to guess what you're thinking right now. Global warming, right? The lead author of the study, Andrew Christ, agrees. We know the Greenland ice sheet had this threshold, he said. Humanity is pushing it. His words serve as a stark reminder that we need to be mindful of our impact on the planet and take steps to reduce our carbon footprint before it's too late. Number 4. The drawbacks of greenhouse emissions. Now let's talk about the drawbacks of greenhouse emissions. Human activities have caused emissions of greenhouse gases to increase the average global temperature by approximately 1 degree Celsius since the last century and a half. The agricultural revolution had caused Greenland to lose more ice than it has in such a short span of time in human history. The sea levels have risen by about 14 millimeters in 5 decades. To put this all into perspective, if the island's whole ice sheet was to melt right now, the global sea levels would elevate by no less than 20 feet. We don't want to see what that looks like, is what Christ, a geologist at the University of Vermont, had to say. It underscores the urgency of needing to change the way things are going right now. It's no lie that the story of this surreal soil sample is nearly as unsettling as the data it contains. It comes straight from the bottom of an ice core extracted during Project Iceworm, which was an unsuccessful Cold War mission to sneak nuclear missiles beneath Greenland's ice in order to keep them safe and hidden. Somewhere in the far north of Greenland is Camp Century, which was used as a base for the US military project. Amenities like housing, dining, and even medical facilities were all powered by a nuclear reactor, which was literally dug into the ice. Yep, the whole situation was that sci-fi. In the battle between man and nature, man has brought his greatest scientific achievement, power from the atom, to the very top of the world, Walter Cronkite, the broadcaster, said in his visit to the area in the 60s. But can he live here? Can he stop the crushing force of the ageless ice, he asked? Number 3. How was this whole thing kept under wraps? In order to conceal the actual purpose of this entire venture, the US sent down some scientists to do their research at the site. This research included numerous experiments, such as obtaining an ice core that stretched over the full depth of the ice sheet. The ice core revolutionized our understanding of Earth's past climate, Christ stated. By noting the sorts of oxygen inside each layer of ice, scientists were able to guesstimate just what the temperature was when the water froze. These analyses of ice cores from Greenland and nearby places have led researchers find a record of global temperature going back thousands and thousands of years into the past. But still, the approximate 12 inches of soil from the bottom of Camp Century was never really tested, so there's that. This whole time, the utter stupidity of Project Iceworm started to be known by everyone involved in it. Tunnels began to break down, ice began to shift, equipment got destroyed. Witnessing this, it was decided that the nuclear plant should be quickly put out of order. Not only that, all the scientific materials gotten from that site were transported to faraway laboratories for testing, never to be heard of again. Before we continue, do be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button if you're enjoying the video. Also, do press that bell icon so you don't miss out on more of our upcoming content in the future. Now let's get back to our video. Number 2, a look into the past. About 50 years later, Jorgen P. Stephenson, who was a glaciologist, was conducting an inventory at the University of Copenhagen's ice core repository. This was when he stumbled upon a few ghosts, jars full of what looked like soil and clay. This piqued Stephenson's curiosity, who then sent the jars to some of his colleagues to look into them. The jars were delivered to the University of Vermont in coolers with freezer packs. Price, who was a doctoral student at the time, was given the task of going through the material and collecting anything he found worth looking at. As soon as Christ took a glance at the samples, his jaw dropped. Its twigs and leaves and moss, freeze-dried for hundreds of thousands of years, they literally looked like they could have been alive yesterday, he said to himself. Christ immediately rang his advisor and asked him to come through. The advisor was Paul Bierman, an undergraduate and assistant at the laboratory. The two of them, upon realizing just what they had on their hands, started hooting and hollering with joy while everyone around them looked, thinking that the two had lost their minds. This is the most exciting day of my scientific life, and you're here for it, is what Christ told the onlookers. The initial analysis of the samples suggested that the material was around 1 million years old. During the time, the concentration of greenhouse gas was way lower in the planet's atmosphere as compared to right now. If we had found a much older age, it would have been impressive, but it might not have been as scary, Christ explained. Because what we found means the ice sheet melted away and raised sea level within a climate system kind of like ours. That, as a climate scientist, has more gravity. This suggests that the current state of ice melting in Greenland is kind of like taking out a cube of ice from the freezer and putting it right under the scorching sun. Yeah, it's that bad. Number 1, so what now? If all of this is making you feel helpless, then rest assured, the Greenland ice sheet is very unlikely to melt in your lifetime. But if we were to warm up the ice sheet 1.5 degrees Celsius more, the risk of complete removal of the ice sheet gets exponentially higher. This is what Isabel of Laconia, an expert on ice sheets, had to say. But make no mistake, if we don't reduce the greenhouse gas emissions that we make by a large extent, then in just a century, Greenland could lose more than 30,000 billion tons of ice. This could make the sea level rise so dramatically that the planet would get swarmed with floods and hurricanes. It blows even the mind of Andrew Price, who's flabbergasted at just how everyone was more concerned about the looming threat of nuclear war back in the day without even trying to entertain the idea of global warming. Even by that point in history, we had already pushed Earth's climate system into unknown territory, Price said. More than 60 years ago, Americans went to Greenland believing they could conquer the ice, but they came away with a harsh lesson in humanity's fragility, he added. To put it into simple words, we as a species still have time to make things right. Now, it's entirely up to us how we go from here with the recent chilling knowledge that has been bestowed upon us. With this, we finally put an end to this video. Here was a deep dive into the recent shocking discovery that has been made in Greenland.